All right, so we're here with the Gen 4 Highlander. We're going to be doing an install video for the micros and our mud flaps, including the mid mud flaps. So we're going to start with the front micros here. Pretty simple installation. It's 3 bolts. You're going to identify the front micro just by this this piece down here. The rear has a little bit more of a flat angle there, so we're going to start with the front, and again, logo always faces towards the rear. So we're going to start by taking out the OEM hardware. It's 3 bolts. Then you take the supplied hardware and put them right back in the holes you just took those bolts out of. Not too tight quite yet. We want to make sure that our angles are correct and it lines up with the profile of the tire. There's a little bit of movement there, so you want to take a step back and make sure that this line is vertical with the tire there. That way it's nice and straight. That looks good. Tighten them down. And that is your front installed micro on the Gen 4 Highlander. All right, so we're back on the Highlander 4th gen, and we're going to be installing the rear micro. So the quick way to identify the rear micro is that it comes straight down. The front one has that little shape over here that comes out. It's a little nodule that really nests in nicely in with the fender liner. So what we're going to do here is we're going to install this thing super quick, pretty easy. Again, the logo always faces towards the rear, so these are going to go right into those mounting points right there on the vehicles. The first order of business here is to take out the OEM hardware. So again, if you guys have any mud flaps or anything like that already on the vehicle, go ahead, take the hardware out there. And we're going to give you some new hardware to throw in there. So the first thing that we're going to do is take a U-nut, and not on the top one, but on the second one down here, we're going to go ahead and slide that U-nut right over that hole. That's going to be a mounting point for us as we go through this thing. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the 8.5 long rivet that we supply. We're going to use that to just put that thing right in top. Going to secure it into the body and into this fender liner up there. Then what we're going to do is take a 4 mil Allen head here, and we're going to go ahead and screw that into the U-nut that we just put in there. Okay, we don't want it super tight because we need to drill a hole down there. So what we're going to want to do first is really make sure that this thing is lined up to the geometry of the tire. So we have this vertical line here, and you're going to want to make sure that vertical line is vertical. And a good way to do that is up against the body of the vehicle or up against the tire, making sure that this thing lines up with that geometry. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drill into this little body panel down here. And this thing is, there's nothing back here, it's just plastic. So we're just going to go ahead into this pill shape, and we're going to go and drill that out. Super quick, super easy. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go and remove the hardware that we just supplied and put in there. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to take another U-nut, and we're going to put that U-nut right over that hole there on the hole that we just drilled. And so now everything's lining up just the way it should. We're going to go ahead and re-secure the micro to the vehicle. Okay. Okay, not too tight because we want some wiggle room in here. And then we're going to go and put in the rivet up on top. Okay, good. And now we're going to take the last 4 mil, and we're going to screw that into the hole that we just created. All right, so you should be squared up nice, and that is the installation of the rear micro on the 4th Gen Highlander. I'm going to follow that same sequence on the passenger side, exact same, and you guys are good to go. So if you got any questions, please let us know. All right, so we're back on the 4th Gen Highlander here. Now we're going to be installing the mud flaps. Now the installation is the same on the mid mud flaps and the standard size mud flaps. The quick way to determine which side is front and rear, the rear has more of an angle on it here on this side, and the front is more U-shaped. So it's got a little bit more of a U-shape there for the front, and the rear is a bit more angled here. So the first order of business here is to take out the OEM hardware. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Again, if you guys have any type of existing OEM mud flaps, go ahead and remove those. Those should mount up to these existing mounting points there. So now what we're going to do is very similar to the micros. We're going to install some U-nuts here. So once you have those rivets removed, you can really kind of flex this bumper in and out. So we're going to go ahead and install those U-nuts into those locations. Okay, and then we're going to install the top 2 holes there to really make sure that we get this thing lined up the way it's supposed to be. Use your 4mm Allen head here. Okay, not too tight. We've got a couple holes we need to drill out. Just tight enough so that it's not really moving around too much, but it's a little bit of play there. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to go to the rear, and we want to make sure that the vertical line here is lined up with the tire. The tire is going to be vertical here, so we want to make sure that this thing is perfectly lined up there with the tire. That looks good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a 5/16 drill bit. We're going to drill this hole out here. And we're going to drill out back here. Again, that's just plastic, so you're not going to do any damage there to anything behind it. Now we're going to take out the hardware to put in another U-nut. Okay, take out another supplied U-nut. We're going to put that right into this little bumper panel here, like so. Make sure that these are all lined up the way they're supposed to be. Okay. And now we just go ahead and reinstall the mud flap back into those locations. Not too tight, we want some play there. Okay, so let's make sure that's nice and straight again. Perfect. And then we go ahead and secure this with a rivet, just like that. Still looks good. And then we come through and tighten down the rest of the bolt. All right, and that is the install of the 4th Gen Highlander mud flap. Again, this is the same installation sequence as the mid mud flap. The difference is that the full size hangs down about 7 inches from below the bumper. The mid is about 3.5 inches below the bumper. And the process is the same on the driver's side and the passenger side. Thanks again. We'll move on to the front. All right, so now we're on the front of the 4th Gen Highlander here. So now we're gonna be installing the front mud flaps. Same sequence as the on the passenger side as the driver's side. Again, the front mud flap is, you've got this U shape here on the mud flap, where on the rear you've got more of an angle up here. Logo's always facing out. That's a quick way to identify which side is which, driver or passenger. The first thing that we need to do is take out the OEM hardware. So you're gonna take out these three bolts. All right, then we're gonna switch over to our 4mm Allen head here. We're just gonna put it right back in here. Now, a rule of thumb is keep these female grommets where they are. The bolts go right into those spots. Oh, go the right way would be good. All right, got one not too tight, one some play, flexibility. Down here. All right. Oops. All right, so now we're going to want to make sure this thing's lined up. You're going to want to make sure this vertical line here is lined up with the tire before we go and do the last step here, which is we've got to drill a hole into the felt. Again, so there's nothing back here. Don't worry about anything behind the felt. You take a 5/16 drill bit. Done. And then what we do is we take our 3/4 inch bolt. We've got a washer and a lock nut. So we're gonna put the 3/4 inch bolt through the hole we just drilled. And then behind, you're gonna reach behind the felt, put the washer and the lock nut, and just get it finger tight. Okay. Then we're gonna take the Allen head there. I'm gonna put a 10mm crescent wrench or whatever you need back there for that nut. Okay, now that's secured. We're gonna go through and tighten these up. All right, and that is the installed version of the that's the installed version of the front mud flap for the Gen 4 Highlander. Again, the sequence for the large mud flaps is the same as the mid mud flap, and you're going to want to follow the same sequence on the front, on the passenger side as well. Thank you again. Please reach out if you guys got any questions. Thank you.